What is meant by attitudinal scales? Now see, whenever you are dealing with some research problem or research question or research objective, you need to record attitude of a population, attitude of a sample, attitude of a participant. So what is meant by attitude? Attitude, simple example is attitude of attending lectures. I am conducting lectures every Thursday 2 to 5. So what is the attitude of attending lectures of your batch, or attitude of attending lectures of previous batch, or attitude of lecture attending of a particular batch? So that becomes your attitude. So attitude is that attitude is favorable attitude or it is not favorable attitude. Okay, you're liking the lectures or you're not liking the lectures. It's a positive attitude or it's a negative attitude, or it's a positive attitude, neutral attitude, and negative attitude. So there are different kinds of attitude. Attitude of Indian population towards using mask means whether Indian population they want to use a mask or they do not want to use mask. Maybe suppose you are studying how 1,000 population from India. Out of 1,000 population, 400 people are using mask, 600 people are not using mask. Means 400 people means 40% of population they are towards a positive attitude that they want to use the masks for the prevention of COVID-19 infection. But 60% of population out of 100, the 1,600 people are not using mask. Means 60% of population is towards negative zone. They do not want to use the mask. So that is the attitude of a population. Attitude of population towards getting the vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine. So attitude is studied in all the fields. You take any field and or attitude of a participant, attitude of a or a perception of participants are studied. Attitude of using particular product. Now, suppose there is one company, business related company, and that company is having some product, maybe product related to routine use. Okay, so what is the attitude of a population, general population of using that particular product, right? And the comparison with other products, for attitude of using your product, like suppose you are entrepreneur of your this thing, and you are having one product, and other companies are having similar products. So what is the attitude of using your product versus attitude of using similar products of other companies? So these kind of things are studied in all professions. You take any kind of profession and attitude of a population, attitude of participants are studied in all the fields. Now, what are these attitudinal scales? When you want to study somebody's attitude you want to enumerate, attitude may be positive attitude and negative attitude. So positive attitude and negative attitude, when you fit into scales, when you fit into numbers, when you fit into categories, that becomes your attitudinal scale. So what information that attitudinal scale will give? It will give you information about the attitude of that particular situation, phenomena, in terms of positivity, in terms of negativity, or whether it is lying in the neutral zone. So you should know what is the attitude of a population, attitude of this particular batch in regards to attending lecture, attitude of this batch in regards to liking these lectures, whether it is positive attitude or negative attitudes or neutral, or you don't want to comment. Okay, so this kind of attitude, when you want to study, it becomes your scale or attitudinal scale. So in scale, what are you doing? You are scaling the attitude. You are studying the attitude. You are putting that attitude in the categories. You are putting that attitude into certain numbers, and those numbers are called as scales, right? So in this chapter, we will discuss about different types of attitudinal scales, which are very commonly used. You must have used all these scales during your master's program. So these are the scales that we will discuss today. Now, today's topic we will discuss under this heading, attitudinal scales for collection of data, what attitudinal scales are and how to use them, the functions of attitudinal scales in quantitative research, difficulties in developing an attitudinal scale and how to overcome them, different types of attitudinal scales and when to use them, the relationship between attitudinal and measurement scale, and methods of exploring attitudes in qualitative research. Okay, so under this heading, we will discuss today's topic. Now, next point, that is measurement of attitudes in quantitative and qualitative research. So when you are measuring somebody's attitude in a quantitative manner and in qualitative manner. So what is the difference when you are measuring it in a quantitative manner or with numbers or numerals manners, or when you are using it for your qualitative data or qualitative research? So what is quantitative study attitude and qualitative study attitude? In quantitative study, it explore, measure, determine the intensity. Okay, so intensity of that particular situation, that particular attitude is measured and combines attitude to different aspect of an issue to arrive at one indicator that is reflective of the overall attitude. Now you have studied 1,000 people regarding the use of mask. Out of 1,000 people, 400 people are using mask and 600 people are not using mask. So it is what it is going into a negative attitude. Majority of people, more than 50% of people, they are not using mask. They are not in favor of using mask. So you are getting the intensity of population, proportion of population who are not interested in using mask. So you are getting that particular parameter. Okay, so in case of quantitative study, what you do, you explore, measure, or determine the intensity. You determine the intensity of that particular problem, situation, or phenomena, and you combine different attitudes so that you will arrive to some conclusion, to some parameter. What I said, 40% of population is not using mask and 60% of population is using mask. Means I have come to a proportion of population using mask and proportion of population is not using mask. Proportion of population having attitude of using mask and proportion of population which does not have an attitude of using mask. Okay, so I am putting in these terminologies. When I am putting in these kind of terminologies, it becomes your attitude in quantitative research. In qualitative research, it explores the spread of attitudes and establish the types of attitude prevalent. Okay, so what kind of attitude is available now when you are dealing with the people who are who have gone through Bhopal gas tragedy? There are different families who have gone through Bhopal gas tragedy. They may have different stories. They may have their individual stories, or each family will have a different story to tell. So here you will check the spread of attitude. Spread of attitude means whether it is positive attitude, negative attitude, or entire spread, whether it is spreading from positive direction to negative or negative direction to positive. So what kind of spread that particular situation or phenomena is having, that is explored in case of qualitative research. Means when you want to measure attitudes in qualitative research, it will measure the spread, not the intensity. Intensity with the help of parameter is measured in case of quantitative research. The spread of that particular attitude is measured in case of qualitative research. Apart from measuring the spread of attitude, it will also determine what is the prevalent attitude. Whether it is positive attitude is prevalent, whether it is negative attitude is prevalent, whether that experience was positive experience or negative experience. Okay, or that was a neutral experience for that particular population. So when the qualitative study is what, or the qualitative attitude is what, it will explore the spread of attitude along with the type of attitude that is prevalent, that is recorded by a qualitative attitude study. So what is first difference? Quantitative in quantitative study, you explore the intensity of that particular attitude, and then you come to certain parameters, average parameters, or the parameter for that particular population. Okay, or for that particular situation or phenomena. In qualitative study, you explore the spread of that particular attitude, and you see what type of attitude is prevalent, right, in that particular community or associated with that particular situation or phenomenon. Now coming to next difference. In quantitative study, you can ascertain the types of attitudes people have in community. The magnitude, that is how many people have this attitude. So prevalent attitude, just now I give you example about the use of mask. Magnitude, proportion of population that is in favor of using mask or that is actually using mask, means which is prevalent in this particular community. The negative attitude is prevalent. Attitude of not using mask is prevalent. So I am getting the magnitude in terms of proportion of population which is using mask, or proportion of population which is having attitude of using mask, and proportion of population which is not having that attitude to use mask. So these two things I am getting. I am getting the magnitude of that particular research problem. So when I am dealing with the magnitude of that research problem, it becomes your quantitative study attitude. Qualitative study attitude means you can study magnitude and intensity of attitude. Intensity means you have in-depth exploration of that particular parameters. In-depth exploration means you come to know all the kind of attitudes. Now, in quantitative study, what you will do, you will see that how many people are using mask and how many people are not using mask. That is your quantitative study. Finish. You are just seeing these 40% of people are using mask and 60% of people are not using mask. In qualitative study, you will explore why remaining 60% they do not want to use mask, or what is that attitude, or what is that phenomena that allows or that is forcing the 40% of people to use mask. So when you want to explore in depth that particular attitude, your qualitative studies are useful. So in qualitative study, you are what doing? You are understanding the magnitude that 40% of population is using mask and 60% of using not using mask. But why 40% are using mask? So what are the factors behind using mask for those 40% of people? And what are the factors that are preventing those 60% from using mask? So when you explore these two things, it is the qualitative study. Spread of attitude means what? when you are exploring or when you are dealing with a situation or phenomena, and when you are dealing with the participants may have different kinds of experiences. The participants may have different kind of perceptions or feelings. So when you explore those perception in depth, so you will get variety of expressions. Variety of expressions means when you mount it, it will be a bell shaped shift experience. Okay. There are certain people who are in the center. There are certain people who are extremely in the positive zone, and there are certain people who are extremely in the negative zone. So that spread from left portion of bell to right portion of bell. So it covers all kind of perceptions or emotions, and that is covered under qualitative study. So in qualitative study, you are exploring entire zone, or entire range is explored. But in quantitative study, you are not exploring entire zone. You are just understanding what is the magnitude of that particular problem. How much is the problem in the community? Why that problem is existing? How to overcome that problem? From where that problem has come? All those things are associated with your qualitative study. The concept of attitudinal scales, therefore, is only prevalent in quantitative research. Okay. So attitudinal scales are prevalent in quantitative research, and such techniques are lacking in case of qualitative research. Why these techniques are lacking in case of qualitative research? Because these techniques are not needed. Here you are having in-depth exploration. You are not just exploring the magnitude of that population. See, when you want to know that 40% people are using mask and 60% of using not using mask, here you are dealing with the qualitative parameters. Sorry, quantitative parameters. You are dealing with the parameters. But when you want to know why 40% people are not using mask, whether they are or 60% people are not using mask, whether they are not affordable, or they have some other issues, or they have some cultural phenomena. What kind of issues are associated with those people who are not using mask, and why these 40% are using mask? What is the motive behind using the mask for these people, or how these people are using mask, why they are motivated towards using mask? So when you want to explore all these things in detail, you cannot apply the attitudinal scales. Like, scale means you will record the measure of that particular problem, magnitude of that particular problem. So it is recorded with the quantitative kind of study. In qualitative study, you go into depth of this. You try to explore all the aspect related to your situation or phenomena. And when this is applied, you cannot have a particular concept of attitudinal scale. Scale means you are putting something into scales. You are putting into something scale to have parameters and averages. So that is not possible into qualitative study, because qualitative study will explore in depth. There will be in-depth exploration of underlying situation or condition, right? So these are the major differences between the measurement of attitudes in qualitative research and quantitative research. Now, what are common attitudinal scales that are used in quantitative research? So basically, we are using three kind of these attitudinal scales. And out of three attitudinal scales, only two are prevalent in a researcher like us. Okay. So first is our Likert scale. The most commonly used scale is Likert scale, and it is also called as summated rating scale, right? So it is one of the most kind of scale that is used, Likert scale. It is based on the ordinal scale. Once we will go into details, you will come to know. Second is Thurstone scale, and it is based on the interval measurement scale. So the data points or measurement scale is interval type of measurement scale, which is applicable for Thurstone scale. And hence it is also called as equal appearing interval scales. In interval scale, the gaps or intervals are equal. Okay, so it is called as equal appearing interval scale or differential scale, or also called as Thurstone scale. And third is called as Guttman scale. It is a ratio scale mostly used by mathematical problems or mathematicians. And it is called as a cumulative scale, complete scale, or ratio scale, because you are dealing with the absolute scale or ratio scale in case of Guttman scale. Now, in today's lecture, we will deal with the Likert scale and Thurstone scale, which are used by researchers like us in statistics. Guttman scale we are not using for our research purposes. So research Guttman scale is we are not going to discuss about the Guttman scale in detail. We will discuss in detail about Likert scale and Thurstone scale. Now coming to the first, that is called as the Likert scale, or it is called as a summated rating scale. So the name itself suggests is summated rating, the rating or ranking. The word rating or ranking is associated with ordinal data. Ordinal data means what? The data which is ranked. Suppose I conduct one test for you people, and the marks are given. The marks are given, or the numbers are given based on the person who scored highest mark and the person who scored lowest mark. So that has it's ordinal data. It's a ranking data. There is a logical ranking. There is a logical order for that particular data. Okay, so it is fitting into ordinal scale or rating scale, right? So here it is a rating scale data. So Likert scale is always rating or ordinal scale data where there is summation of the data. So all the data points are summated and the average attitude is calculated. So how do you calculate average attitude? You rate the attitude. Rate the attitude for different population. You rate the attitude for all the participants, and after rating, you summate the attitude. Okay, there is summation of attitude. Now, how it is done? So we will go into details of this. The summated rating scale, more commonly known as the Likert scale, is based upon the assumption that each statement, okay, each statement or each item on the scale has equal attitudinal value or equal attitudinal importance or equal weight in terms of reflecting an attitude towards the issue in question. Now, suppose we are studying some attitude or we want to evaluate one particular attitude of a population. So suppose you are dealing with the questions or questionnaire. Each item or each question or each statement will have equal importance, equal weightage in terms of finding solution to your research problem. Now let us discuss this research problem. Suppose university wants to assess my capabilities in conducting research methodology lectures, like whether lectures are really good or lectures are really bad or lectures are useful or lectures are not useful. Now university has prepared these 10 questionnaires or 10 statements or 10 items we can say. Okay, now these are the items. First is knows the subject well. Second is unenthusiastic about teaching, shows concern for the students, make unreasonable demands, has poor communication skills, knows how to teach, can explain difficult concept in simple terms, is hard to approach, is liked by some students and not by others, and is difficult to get along with. Now, these are 10 statements. These are 10 items which are having equal weight. Equal weight means what? The item number one or statement number one, whatever is marked for that particular statement. Suppose it is a 5-point scale. So if the marks are given out of 5, so statement number 1 will have marks out of 5 and the statement number 10 will also have marks out of 5. The statement number 1 will have the same amount of contribution as the statement number 5 or statement number 10 in terms of getting answer to your research problem. So here what you are doing, you are conducting a research to find out solution to your research problem. And here you have the statements or items which are applied to or given to the participants and the answers are taken from the participant. Now each answer or each question, each statement, each item is having equal importance. All the items, all the 10 questions, all the 10 statements are having equal importance, equal weight. In terms of what? In terms of understanding the attitude of a population. Attitude of a population means your attitude. Now, suppose these questions are prepared and these are circulated for your batch to know whether lectures are good or lectures are bad, or the how is the quality of lectures. Okay, so these are the 10 different questions that will a certain attitude for each and every question, right? So that is the Likert scale, means you have a ranking here. You have a ranking means what? Ranking for the observations. Here, what are the observations? For this categorical scale, we have strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, and strongly agree. Means we are moving from most positive zone towards most negative zone, and there is neutral zone in the center. So what is a characteristic of ordinal scale? In ordinal scale, we have such kind of order or ranking from most positive area to most negative, or from most negative area to most positive area. Okay, so when such kind of ranking, this is a logical ranking. This is a logical order, and when such type of order is present, it is called as ordinal scale, and that is an integral part of your Likert scale. So what are two important characteristics of Likert scale? First is each statement, each item, each statement has equal importance, equal weight. Weight means weight in terms of getting answer to your research problem. Each statement will have an equal weight. So that attitude is reflected, means whatever attitude is reflected by question number 1 or statement number 1, the same attitude or similar the attitude of similar magnitude is reflected by statement number 10. Okay, that is the one important part or one hallmark of your Likert scale. And second is it is on your scale, that is ordinal scale, ranking scale. There is logical order or there is logical ranking, like strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, strongly disagree. This is a categorical scale, or you may be having numerical scale. Okay, numerical scales means this is 7 point rating scale. Now, if you see this is 7 point rating scale. 7 means most positive attitude and 1 means most negative attitude here, right? For positive statements. So you have your Likert scale maybe in terms of categories like strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, or strongly disagree. Or you may be putting it in terms of numbers, 7 point scale, 10 point scale, 5 point scale. See, whenever you are going to some mall or purchasing some product, they ask you to rate it. Rate it means maybe consumer satisfaction. Suppose they are recording a consumer satisfaction about one particular service. So they will ask you to rate from 1 to 10. So maybe you are recording in, you are putting your marks as out of 10. It may be 10 marks or 9 marks or 6 marks. Okay. So that way they are rating and they will submit it and they will take out our average attitude of a population about that particular service. Suppose there is one center which is dealing with automobiles. Suppose they are dealing with the cars. Many people are purchasing car from them and going for servicing. So at the end of servicing, at the end of each servicing, they are taking the customer satisfaction. Okay, customer satisfaction based on 10 point scale from each customer, and they will take the average. Suppose if many people are marking above 5, this means there is positive satisfaction. If many people are marking below 5, means there is negative satisfaction or no satisfaction. Okay, so that way they will determine whether their service is good or their service is bad. Okay, so most of you, if you mark above 4, now in this region above 4, so 4 is neutral zone, 1, 2, 3 is negative zone, 5, 6, 7 is a positive zone. So if most of you mark in 5, 6, 7 zone means you have a positive attitude. You say that I'm a good teacher. But if most of you are marking in 1 to 3 zone means you are not liking my lectures. Okay, means you are not in favor of my lectures. So that is a negative zone of this particular attitude. So it will reflect the attitude, whether it is positive attitude for that particular problem or it's a negative attitude for that particular problem. So you can put it in terms of either categorical scale where there are such categories like strongly agree to strongly disagree, or you can put it in terms of numbers from 7 point scale or 5 point scale means there are 5 points or there are 7 points or there are 10 points. So such kind of scale you can put it. We convert these categories. Now all these categories, no, these are consistent categories. We convert these categories into numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now strongly agree, we may give 5 numbers, then agree will give 5. You have to, no, you have to assign. Because it's an ordinal scale, you can assign them numbers. Either you decide which is the highest number, means which is the most positive zone, whether 1 is most positive or 5 is most positive. Okay, generally highest number is taken as most positive. Means when you go for servicing and you give your satisfaction rate, 10 means 10 out of 10 is what you are highly satisfied regarding that particular service. Okay, and 1 means you are not at all satisfied. Okay. Mhm. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like. Right, strongly agree 5. Yeah. So if you are adding the values at the end, how will we count that score? Suppose there are 40 people in your batch. Out of 40 people, 35 people they mark in this particular zone, agree zone or strongly agree to agree zone. Means maximum people. Suppose 90% people are marking in this zone. Means when you summate it, you have to average it, right? After summation, you have to average the score. So when you summate it, you will average it. The number will come. Means out of 5, suppose the value is 3.8. 3.8 is closer to 5. Means it is closer to positive zone. If out of 5, if the value is below 2.5, means that is into negative zone. If it is above 2.5, means it is into positive zone. Right? So that way, so you will submit it. Suppose 40 participants, they are giving me numbers for each statement. Now there is statement number 1. All 40 participants are giving me number. Someone has given strongly agree, someone given as agree, someone has uncertain, few more have given agree, strongly agree. I will submit it total numbers. Suppose 5, 4, 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus that way for 40 people I will submit it. Then whatever scores comes, I will divide by 40. So I will get the average score out of 5. Okay, so finally I will get average score out of 5. And if it is falling into above 2.5 or above neutral zone, it is a positive attitude. If it is falling below average or below central zone, that is below 2.5, it is a negative attitude. Now, the most important aspect, how to formulate this Likert scale. Okay, so this is one of the most important aspect of your research, to formulate your Likert scale. Now, there are 7 steps to formulate this Likert scale, and we will go into details of these steps. Okay. The first step is assemble or construct statements that are reflective of attitude towards the main issue in questions. Now, what is attitude you want to explore? You want to explore whether I am good teacher or bad teacher, whether your attitude, positive attitude towards my teaching or negative attitude towards my teaching. So first what you do, you construct the statements. So these are 10 statements we have constructed, okay, to check whether it is positive attitude or negative attitude. Means we have 10 statements like knows the subject well, unenthusiastic about teaching, shows concern for the students, make unreasonable demands, poor communication skill, knows how to teach, can explain difficult concept in simple terms, hard to approach, liked by some students and not by others, and is difficult to get along. So we have prepared 10 questions related to problem under study. What problem we want to study? Whether the lectures are good or the lectures are not good, or the lecturer has good capability to conduct lectures on research methodology, or that person does not have that capability to conduct the lectures. So that we want to assess. That is our research problem. For that research problem, related to our research problem, we have prepared these questions. Means all these are related to our research problem. Like I know the subject well. Whether I'm enthusiastic or not enthusiastic about question. What is my poor communication skill? So all these we have put it in the form of statements or questions or items. So we have prepared these 10 statements or 10 items, right? Statement should be worded to reflect both positive and negative attitude towards the issue. Now, what is this? Positive attitude means what? It reflects the positive attitude, and negative attitude means you should frame questions in such a way that it should include both positive and negative attitude for that particular research problem. Now, what is positive attitude? Knows the subject well. Knows the subject well is talking in terms of positive attitude. So it's a positive attitude. Is unenthusiastic about teaching. It's a negative attitude. Okay. So knows the subject well is a positive attitude. Is unenthusiastic about teaching is negative attitude. Shows concern for student. Again, it's a positive attitude. Makes unreasonable demands. It's a negative attitude. Has poor communication skill. It's a negative attitude. Knows how to teach. It's a positive attitude, right? Can explain difficult concept in simple terms. Again, it's a positive attitude. Okay, positive aspect of that particular person. Is hard to approach. It's a negative attitude of that particular person or negative aspect of that particular person. Is liked by some students and not by others. It's a neutral. You are not able to decide whether it is liked by some student or not. So it has both positive and negative, and is difficult to get along with. So whenever you are forming statements or questions or items, you see that it includes all the attitudes, positive attitude as well as negative attitudes, positive statements as well as negative statements. Okay. So it should be combination of both. That is, they should be for as well as against the issue. So means there are certain statements which are positive statement. They are for the issue. They are for the good attitude. Like I am good at, they are indicating that I am good in the subject. And there are certain statements, they are indicating that I'm not good in the subject or I'm not good in the teaching part. If your scale is one directional, you need only positive statements. So it sometimes happens that your scale is unidirectional and then you will have only positive statements. But generally we have mixture of statements. We have positive and negative statement related to that research problem. Make sure that all the statements have a logical link to the main issue. What is main issue? What do you want to assess? You want to assess the teaching capabilities of mind. So to understand teaching capabilities, all the questions should be related to explore the teaching capability of a person. So if you see all these questions, most of the questions are related to the teaching capabilities, except few, like is liked by some students and not by others. So it is not related to my teaching capability. It is a different perspective. That is, I'm liked by some students and not liked by some students. So this is not reflecting research problem under study. What is research problem? You want to explore the research teaching capabilities of mind. Okay, so when you are exploring teaching capabilities of Dr. Atul, you need not have to have questions like is liked by student, because it is different perspective. It is different variable. It is not related to research problem under study. Okay, so such statements are not required. Make sure that all the statements have a logical link with the main issue. Means there should be some logical link. This statement like is liked by some students and not by others. It does not have any logical link with the main issue or issue under study. You also need to decide whether you want respondents to answer in categories on numerical scale. Now here we are using categories: strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, and strongly disagree. Means these are the category, 5 categories, from most positive to most negative categories. Or you can have numbers like this. Okay, you can have a numerical scale or you can have categories that you have to decide as an investigator, right? So step one was related to what? You have to formulate the questions. You have to formulate the statements. You have to formulate the items. The item should be formulated in such a way that it should reflect both positive and negative attitude. There should be positive as well as negative statements. Okay. The statement which are related to the main link means there should be logical link between your statement and your research problem or research question or research hypothesis. So all questions should have a logical link with your research problem, research question or research hypothesis, right? And then you see that the scale, what kind of scale you want to use. Here we are using the categorical scale, right? Now step two, administer the statement to small group of people to test them. Suppose I will give it to among 40, I will choose two people, two students from your batch, and I will give this questions or I will give this questionnaire to them and I will ask them to answer. I will ask them to answer on this 5-point scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree, right? So that is step number two. Analyze the responses by assigning a weightage, like weighing a numerical value to the responses. Numerical values are assigned differently to positive and negative statements. Okay. Numerical values are assigned differently to a positive and negative statement. So what is written here? For a positive statement, the response indicating the most favorable attitude is to be given higher score, right? Now it's a 5-point scale. What the statement says? Step number 3 says that the positive statement should be given highest mark when that attitude is most positive. So here, what is most positive attitude? Strongly agree is the most positive attitude and strongly disagree is most negative attitude. When you are dealing with first statement, that is a positive statement. When you are dealing with a positive statement, the most positive attitude will get highest mark. So here highest marks are given for strongly agree because it's a positive statement, right? So in case of positive statement, the most strongly, the highest attitude, the most positive attitude will get highest marks. It is 5-point scale. In 5-point scale, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So highest, that is 5, will be taken by strongly agree and 1 will be taken by strongly disagree. But in case of negative statement, the second statement is negative statement. That is unenthusiastic about teaching. For this kind of statement, the most negative attitude will get highest mark. Means strongly disagree is the most negative attitude here. So since it is a negative statement, the most negative attitude here is strongly disagree will get highest mark. That is its 5-point scale. The 5 marks are given to strongly disagree. And the most favorable or the most positive statement or the most positive attitude, that is strongly agree, will get lowest mark, that is 1, because it's a negative statement. So what you have to understand here, you have negative and positive statements here, and you have positive and negative attitudes here. Positive attitude ranges from strongly attitude to strongly agree to strongly disagree. It's a 5-point scale. So in this 5-point scale, there are 5 points, right? For a positive statement like knows the subject well, you have to give assign highest marks or highest number. That is in for 5-point scale, 5 is the highest number to strongly agree attitude. That is the most positive attitude. And the lowest number here, it is 1, should be assigned to the most negative statement or the most negative attitude rather than statement. Okay, for positive statement. In case of negative statement, this is reversed. Since it's a negative statement, the highest mark, the highest numbers are given to the most negative attitude, that is strongly disagree. And the lowest number or least numbers are given to the most positive attitude, that is strongly agree. So you have to assign in this way, right? Positive statement, highest mark to most positive attitude, negative statement, highest mark to most negative statement. Okay. Analyze the responses by assigning a weighing, that is a numerical value to the responses. Statement for a positive statement, the response indicating most favorable attitude will get highest score. Okay, for example, on 5 category or 5-point scale, 5 is assigned to the response that indicates most favorable attitude and 1 to the response which indicate the least favorable attitude. Just now I explained this. By contrast, a person who agrees strongly with a negative statement indicates that he or she does not have favorable attitude. Means I have already explained this. For negative attitude, what is the marking system, and for positive attitude, what is the marking system. So in step number 3, you will give the marks based on positive attitude and negative attitude, and based on positive statement and negative statement. So positive statement, most positive attitude, highest mark. Negative statement, most negative attitude, highest mark. Okay, on that numerical point scale. Now step number 4. So now here what we have two participants. So respondent number this and respondent number this. So we have this two participant. The first is respondent at, and second sign is what exactly I don't know the hash. You can say hashtag. So respondent at and respondent hashtag. Okay. So we have two respondent. Now they will mark it. I have given them questionnaire and they are marking the responses on this 5-point scale. So respondent number 1 or respondent at has marked first as a knows the subject will at, given me highest mark, 5 marks. But respondent number hash has given lowest mark. Similarly, for this negative statement, respondent number at has given me lowest mark or highest mark. This is a negative statement. When he is marking into strongly disagree means he's giving me highest mark. Okay, he's putting me into most negative zone. Okay, but for this statement, it is the most positive zone because it's a negative statement, right? Negative becomes positive, right? So most negative attitude for negative statement will get highest mark. Okay, similar to the positive statement is getting positive attitude as highest marks, right? So these are the marks which are given by the respondents. Means respondent at and respondent hashtag. You can see the mark. These are the questions, question number or statement from 1 to 10. And these are the responses. So 5 for 1, 5 for 2, 3 for 3. So these are the numbers or numerical values for these questions which are given by respondent at and respondent hash. Okay, and we have put this. Now we will submit this. We will submit and we will get the score 42. Out of 50, the respondent number at has given 42, means he has a positive attitude. He has a positive feeling that I am a good teacher. But respondent hash has given 20 marks, which are below 25. So he has an attitude that I am not good teacher. Okay, my teaching is not worth. So these are the attitudes which are reflected by these two participants. Okay, and then you can calculate average also. So here what you have done summation of your summation of attitude of all the statements. You have statements in place, you have items in place, and all the statements are given marks based on the attitude, and that is submitted to get the final attitude. So 42 out of 50 indicates strongly favorable attitude. Okay, strongly favorable means it is about 90%. He has given me out of 100 more than 90% marks, means it's a strongly favorable attitude. But similarly, the respondent hash has given me 20 marks. So out of 50, 20 means it is less than 50%, means it is into negative zone. Okay, means it is into disagree zone. He doesn't disagree that I am a good teacher, right? So this way you can ask them to mark, you can submit it. Hence it is called as summated rating scale. So you understood why it is called a summated rating scale, because you sum up all the attitudes for all the statements. Okay, now statement number 4, calculate each respondent attitudinal score by adding numerical value assigned in step 3 to the responses he or she gave to his statement. Just now I explained this, that we summated it. Summation is done and we got the score. Compare all respondent score for each item. Now for each item, each statement, each respondent score is checked, or it is cross-checked. Why you want to cross-check? There is a reason. What is the reason? You have to identify non-discriminative items. Non-discriminative means there is no discrimination. There is no discrimination in attitude means what? Now suppose there are two statements, statement number 8 and statement number 9. If you see, for these two statement, there is no differentiation in the attitude for both the participant or respondent at and respondent hash. For statement number 8, both of them have the marked in uncertain zone. And for statement number 9, that is liked by some students and not by others, both of them have marked in disagree zone. Means such statements are not discriminating one participant from other. Okay, suppose there are 40 participants in your batch for this particular statement number 8 is hard to approach. If all of you mark in uncertain area on this particular zone, means there is no discrimination. It is not giving any additional information about that particular research, about that particular statement. When it is not discriminating, when it is not differentiating, when it is not differing in the attitude, when the attitude for entire batch is same about a particular problem, such attitude is not needed because it is not going to give additional information to analyze. So such non-discriminative items should be removed from your statements or from all the items. Okay, so non-discriminative items or statements should be removed because there is no differentiation. There is no difference of opinion. There is no difference of attitude. The attitude is same. If attitude for one particular statement is same for entire 40 people or an entire batch, means it is not going to give you additional information. It is not going to provide you additional information to analyze. So that is burden for your analysis. That could introduce bias to your analysis. Rather than keeping such non-discriminative statements or items, you remove such discriminative, non-discriminative statements and you keep only discriminative statements or statements which are differentiating one participant from other, because of which one participant is will have a different attitude as compared to other. Such statement you keep. Non-discriminative statements or items you remove. Eliminate non-discriminative items. So such non-discriminative items like question number 8 is hard to approach and question number 9 is liked by some students and not by others. We will remove it because there is no discrimination in the attitude. There is no differentiation in the attitude with these two questions. Hence, we kept only 8 questions and we removed question number 8, that is hard to approach, and question number 9 is liked by some students and not by others. Okay, so we kept only these two questions. Now construct a questionnaire or interview schedule comprising the selected statements or items. So these are the remaining items. We removed item number 8 and item number 9, and there are remaining 8 items out of 10. That is total. Now we have 8 items or 8 statements. Only those statements we will assign it to other people. Like there are 38 people remaining. So first two respondents, or I selected randomly two respondents, respondent at and respondent hash, and I gave them this questionnaire. Okay, they mark their attitude. Based on the attitude, the scores are given. Based on the score, we decided that which is in the positive zone, which is negative zone. Based on the score or based on the responses, which we decided which are discriminative items and which are non-discriminative items or statements. Non-discriminative statements or items we removed because they are not giving any further additional information. So such statements we removed from our questionnaire, and we kept only those statements that are discriminating each other's attitude, one's attitude from other. Okay, so when we have such statements, we will get differing attitudinal values for each statement, and such discriminative items or statements are kept for final analysis or a final questionnaire. And the final questionnaire is prepared based on these discriminative items, and it is circulated among remaining 38 people for final for getting final information. Okay, so this way you prepare the Likert scale. Should be removed before. Yes, before final this thing. See, for these two participant. Initially, we identified two participants. Why we identified two participants? Because we want to finalize whether the questions are having some logical link related to research problem. Assigning that 8 statements to these participants also? We already have their responses in place, no? You have to give it to remaining participants. Already they have marked. Only you have to remove 2 items, and remaining questionnaire you have to give to a remaining 38 candidates. Their attitude you have already measured. Okay, attitude is already measured for those people.
So in case if both have positive attitude.
Sorry?
If both have positive attitude, then
yes, means I am very good lecturer then. Means all of you are concluding that my lectures are too good. That is your conclusion. If all of you are marking in negative zone, means all of you are saying no, the lectures are not worth. So there is possibility. All of you mark in the positive zone, all of you may mark in negative zone, or all of you may mark in neutral zone. There is any possibility. It doesn't matter whether you mark in positive zone or negative. Attitude, whatever result come, that doesn't matter. Whether it's positive attitude or whether it's negative attitude. Okay, how to record that attitude, it matters. how to prepare the statements. That is the skill for Likert scale. Got it?
So while constructing this
Hmm.
questionnaire, if
Hmm.
both have positive attitude or both have negative attitude.
Hello.
Sir, my question is same. Like constructing the questionnaire and
Hmm.
both have positive attitude or both have negative attitude. So we have to take same questionnaire for all the participants.
It doesn't matter. See, why are we giving it to few people or few participants? We need to find out the basic objective of giving this to few participant or only two participant is to find out discriminative and non-discriminative item, to find out which are important questions related to your research problem, which are important statements related to research problem, which questions or statements or items have a logical link to your research problem. So we want to identify the question statements or items that do not have a logical link with your research problem. If you are keeping those statements or questions, it is burden for analysis because that is not giving any further additional information for you to analyze. Yeah,
Yes.
this score is not important. What is important? You have to identify the logical questions, the logical statements, the statement which have logical link to your research problem, research question, or research hypothesis. So I would like to repeat once again. Okay. Total 7 steps. In first step, what are you doing? You are finding the positive statements and negative statement related to your research problem or research question or research hypothesis. You have research question, research problem, and research hypothesis. So related to your research problem, you will enumerate research statements or you will enumerate the statements or items. Okay. So that once somebody answer those, express the attitude for that particular statement, you will get answer for your research problem. So now my this thing research problem under study was to evaluate the capabilities, mind capabilities for you people to deliver the lectures. Okay, that you want to assess. For that, these 10 questions are prepared. Here we have positive statements as well as negative statements. Positive statement means the statement which indicate the positive attitude. That is, the knows the subject well is a positive attitude, and is unenthusiastic about teaching is negative attitude. So we should have combination of both kind of statements, positive statements as well as negative statements. The statement which indicate positive attitude as well as statement which indicate negative attitude. Okay, so we will enumerate such questions, statements, or items. In next steps, what we will do, we will assign the scoring. How will assign the scoring? We will separate positive statements and negative statements. The positive statement with will the positive statement will get highest mark with most positive attitude. Here we have a 5-point numerical scales, means highest mark is 5 and lowest is 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the positive statement will get 5 marks because it's a most positive statements. Here categorical scale, what we have used categorical scale, strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, and strongly disagree. Okay, strongly agree is most positive attitude, strongly disagree is most negative attitude. For a positive statement, you will give highest score for most positive attitude and you will give lowest score for most negative attitude. Similarly, for negative this thing for negative statement, you will give highest mark to the most negative attitude. Means 5 here will be given to strongly disagree. In case of positive statement, we used to give 5 marks to strongly agree because it was positive statement to positive attitude. But in case of negative statement, highest marks are given to the most negative attitude. Here, most negative attitude is strongly disagree. Okay, and most positive attitude is strongly agree because it's a negative statement. The most positive attitude will get lowest mark. So that way you have to assign the marks. Positive, yeah, positive question will have highest positive attitude, highest mark. Negative statement will have highest negative attitude will get highest marks. Okay, that way you have to assign the, yeah, that way you have to assign the numbers or numerals or scale. Basically, it's a ranking scale, 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. Okay, numerical scale. We have categories, we converted those categories into marks. Okay, from 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. Right. Now, after this, you apply this to a small group of population. In our example, we gave it to two respondents, respondent at and respondent hash. So this respondent at and respondent hash, they will mark here. So for the positive statement, the most positive attitude they have marked highest mark, and most negative statement they have given highest mark to most negative attitude. So we will get the final marks. For each statement, I will get mark for each respondent, that is respondent at and respondent hash. Okay, so I will summate it. The name is summated rating scale. We have rated it in a 5-point scale, and now we are summating it. We sum up. Okay, here. So out of the highest marks are 5, 10 into 5, 50. So out of 50, respondent at has given me 42 marks, and respondent hash has given me 20 marks. Means what does it indicate? Respondent at is having highest attitude or strongly favorable attitude for me, and respondent hash has strongly unfavorable attitude for my teaching capabilities. Okay, so what was the question? Research problem. We want to assess the teaching capabilities. So we got the answer here. Now, in the initial stage, we are doing this kind of pilot or feasibility study to find out which are important questions or which are unimportant questions. How do you decide it? It is decided based on the markings which are given by respondent at and respondent hash. So for the statements, if they do not have differing attitude, if they do not have different attitude, means the questions we have which do not discriminate their attitude. Such questions like is hard to approach. Both of them have marked in uncertain zone. Is liked by some students and not by others. They have marked in disagree zone. So means it is not going to give additional information for your study, or it is not going to give any additional information in terms of analysis of your data. So such non-discriminative items should be removed from your questionnaire or from your statements, and remaining statements you can give it to other people. Like we have 40 people in the batch, so 2 people they answered, and now after removing statement number 8 and statement number 9, the remaining 8 questions we will give it to other people to give the response, right? And then we will calculate the score by summation of it, and we can take average. What is the average attitude of this particular batch, right? Whether it is strongly favorable or favorable attitude for my teaching, or strongly unfavorable or unfavorable for my teaching. So that is all about Likert scale. Yes,
So,
go
for
ahead.
example, for question number one, know the
Hmm.
subject well. If both are giving 5 marks for that, so
Uh,
we have to remove that question.
and you also have to see whether it has a logical link to your research problem. Now, if you see knows the subject well, it has very good logical link to the research problem. What is your research problem? You want to assess the teaching capabilities of a teacher. If you want to assess a teaching capabilities of a
Hmm.
teacher, knows the subject well, means this is very important parameter. This is a very
Hmm.
important variable. Okay, just based on 2 people, we may
Hmm.
not be able to discriminate it, or we may not be able to remove it. So such items which have a logical link, we
Hmm.
can keep it. So either way, we have to take the
Okay.
decision based on the items or variables which have a logical link, or if they do not have a logical link, and based on the respondents' responses. Now here we have used only 2 people. Maybe you can use 10 people or 15 people, and then you can come to some conclusion. Okay, so this statement like is hard to approach. How does it matter?
Hmm.
How does it reflect my understanding about research methodology? How does it reflect the
Hmm.
knowledge of mine about research methodology? It is not related to teaching
Hmm.
aspect. What are we assessing? We are assessing the teaching aspect of Dr. Atul related to research methodology. It's hard to approach. This is something different. It is the approach variable.
Hmm.
It is the variable that somebody is approachable or not approachable. It has no concern. It has no meaning in terms of my teaching capabilities. So it has no logical link
Hmm.
to the problem under study. Problem under study is teaching capability. Teaching capability has no link to is hard to approach, as well as is liked by some students and not liked by others. So it's a personal perception. Some of you may be liking me, or some of you may not like me. Okay, it's a personal approach. It's personal phenomenon, right? So it doesn't contribute to teaching capabilities. So my teaching capabilities will not never dependent on liked by some student or not liked by some student. It will depend on what? It will depend on my knowledge. Okay, the kind of lectures
Hmm.
I am delivering, my communication skills, my understanding about the subject. So all these parameters are important, right? Means they have logical link,
All right.
but such statements do not have logical link to the research problem under study.
Yes. Thank you.
In today's lecture, we will discuss about equal appearing interval or Thurstone scale. So today's discussion will be on Thurstone scale, or that is also called as Equal appearing interval scale. Now, the name itself suggests that it has an interval way of measurement scale. Like measurement scale is interval scale. For Likert scale, it was ordinal data. Data was ordinal means it has a ranking or it has an order. So it was ordered data. It was a ranking kind of data. So it was classified under measurement scale of ordinal scale or ranking scale. Thurstone scale, it works on interval scale, or interval scale is applicable for Thurstone scale. Okay. So now, Thurstone scale and Likert scale, these are totally different scales. Okay. In the Likert scale, we discussed that it is a summated rating scale. Summated rating scale means what? We were summating the scores. So the scores were given by the respondents for each statement, and those scores were summated in the end to calculate the average score, or you can say the score. So that was summated rating scale, or we used to have summation of all the scores, and then we come to the conclusion of positivity or negativity in terms of attitude under study, or question under study, or hypothesis under study. In contrast to Thurstone's Likert scale, Thurstone scale basically has certain different aspects. Like first aspect is Thurstone scale calculate a weight or attitudinal value for each statement, right? So what the Thurstone scale is doing, it is calculating weight or value or attitudinal value for each statement. Now, if you see, we have 10 statements here. So like suppose you want to assess the efficacy or efficiency of a lecturer, or efficient or my efficiency in conducting research methodology lectures or delivering research methodology lectures. You have 10 questions related to it so that you will circulate to the participants. Now, first question is knows the subject well, is unenthusiastic about teaching, shows concern for the students, makes unreasonable demands, communicates poorly, knows how to teach, can explain difficult concept in simple terms, is hard to approach, is liked by some students and not by others, and is difficult to get along with. So we have these 10 statements, items, or questions, right? So you want to give it to the respondents, you want to give it to the participants, you want to give it to the students, so that you will have the score and you will come to know what is exactly the outcome. Like for the Likert scale. In case of Likert scale, we didn't calculate the weight of each statement. We didn't calculate the value of attitudinal value for each statement. In case of Likert scale, the value or the weight for each statement, each item is the same. There is no difference in the weight. There is no difference in the attitudinal value. Means what? Whatever is the value of question number 1, there is similar value for question number 10. Means both question number 1 and 10, they carry equal weightage. They carry equal marks. They carry equal attitudinal value. That was the hallmark of Likert scale. Okay, so that we discussed under Likert scale. But in case of Thurstone scale, it is not the case. In case of Thurstone scale, what do? We calculate the attitudinal value based on the weight, or we calculate the weight of each statement. We calculate the value of each statement. We calculate the importance of each statement. Means in Thurstone scale, there is possibility that one statement is more superior or more important than other statement. Like here we have 10 statements. What is objective? University wants to assess the teaching capability of a lecturer, okay, or teaching capability of lecturer in research methodology. Now, what is expected, or what is a hypothesis, or what is objective? The objective is to assess the teaching capability. Objective is to assess the knowledge of that particular person. Now, among these 10, the experts might feel that the person can explain difficult concept in simple terms, will have more weightage. Why? Because research methodology and research statistics, it's a volatile subject. Okay. And sometimes it is difficult to understand. Sometimes it is difficult to explain the subject. So if they give highest mark, if the experts say that this is the most important criteria that can explain difficult concept in simple terms for understanding or for assessing efficacy of a lecturer in terms of delivering the research methodology lectures. So they might give highest weight to this particular statement that can explain difficult concept in simple terms. Okay, highest attitudinal value, highest mark to this particular statement. Okay, because this statement they think is more important in terms of getting the answer for the research question, answer for the research hypothesis, answer for the research problem. So that is the statement value or attitudinal value for a statement. Maybe other statement like knows the subject well, it will fall after this particular statement. They might think that is enthusiastic about teaching, it is not important, so it might go in the last. It might shift to the position of 10. Shows consent for the students. Now the experts might think that this is not related to the research hypothesis, this is not related to research question, because so they will not give any value to this particular statement, because what you are assessing? You are assessing the efficacy of delivering the research methodology lectures. Now, there is no correlation. There is no direct correlation between the statement that shows concern for the student and the knowledge of that particular person. Okay, so there is no direct correlation or there is no direct association between these two factors. So the experts might delete this statement, or they might give 0 marks, or they might give lowest marks for this particular statement. Okay, so basically the weight of this statement will be 0, or there won't be any weight for this particular statement as far as the research question or research hypothesis is concerned. Right? Means every question, every statement, we have 10 statement, 10 items or 10 questions here. Each statement will have a different weight. Each statement will have a different attitudinal value in case of Thurstone scale. But in case of Likert scale, we used to give equal value, equal weightage, equal attitudinal value. Right? So that is basic difference between Likert scale and Thurstone scale. In Likert scale, all the statements, all the items, all the research questions, they have same weight and same attitudinal value. But in case of Thurstone scale, the weight or attitudinal value for each statement or each item or each research question is different. Right? It is based on its importance. So based on the importance, highest marks, highest attitudinal value, highest weight is given to the question or the statement which will give the which will help you to find solution or closest solution. Okay, which will help you to achieve your objectives, which will help you to fulfill your objective to the greatest extent. Right? So Thurston scale calculates a weight or attitudinal value for each statement, which is not case in case of Likert scale. The weight equivalent to the median value. Weight means what? Suppose there are experts, multiple experts, and they assign value for this particular statement, like can explain difficult concept in simple terms. So they will assign value. Suppose there are 3 experts. One expert assigns value 4, other expert 5, and one more expert 6. So you have to calculate the median value. Maybe median value will be 5. Okay. So whatever experts assign the values, you calculate that value and you give the weight or you give the value or you give the number for that particular statement. Okay, so the weight equivalent to the median value for each statement is calculated on the basis of rating assigned by group of judges. So what here we are doing? We are taking group of experts. We are hiring group of judges here. In case of Likert scale, this was given to participants. Okay, or this was given to research participants. In this case, suppose you are the participant. Your batch is the group of students who are participating for this particular program, right? So you will mark in case of Likert scale. But in case of Thurstone scale, these marks will be given by the experts. Experts maybe for this particular region will require academic experts who have substantial achievement in terms of academics. Those are professors, those are deans, or those are directors, or those who have some substantial achievements in their career in academics. So you will assign this job to those people. Means those people will give the marks rather than research participants. So that is the basic difference. In case of Likert scale, what is happening? The statements or research questions are given to the participants. But in case of Thurstone scale, these statements are given to group of judges or group of experts. Okay, means they are assigned. The rating is assigned by group of judges in case of Thurstone scale, while rating is assigned by participant in case of Likert scale. So these are two important basic differences between these two, right? Now we discussed in the previous lecture about how to, what are the steps associated with the designing Likert scale. Now in this lecture, we will discuss what are the steps in designing the Thurstone scale. Now step 1 is what? Assemble or construct statements reflective of attitude towards issue in question. Now what are we discussing? We are discussing, or what is our research in question? What is our research problem? Or what is our research question? Our research question is to that we want to assess the efficacy of lecturer in delivering the research methodology lectures. So we have these 10 questions in place, like from knows subject well to is difficult to get along with. So we have these 10 statements, 10 questions, or 10 items here displayed. Select a panel of judges who are experts in the field of the attitude being explored. What are we exploring? Which attitude we are exploring? We are exploring the knowledge. We are exploring the efficacy of the lecturer, academic efficacy in terms of delivering research methodology and research statistic lecture. So we will take experts, academic experts who have expertise in the field of research methodology as well as expertise in the field of research statistics. So those experts we will hire. Those experts we will call for this particular assignment, right? So first step was assemble or construct statements reflective of attitude towards the issue in question. So already we have questions in place. Select a panel of judges. We have taken the judges who are experts in academics so that they will mark the attitude. So they will rate that particular assignment, right? Now send the statements to the judges with a request to rate each statement's importance in reflecting an attitude towards the issue being studied. So you send these statements to whom? To the judges who are experts in the field and ask them to rate each statement. What we have 10 statements. So these 10 statements you will send it to the judges. So you will send to experts in the field and you will ask them to mark it. How will they mark? Ask them to rate each statement on 11-point scale. So they have to mark it on 11-point scale, 1 to 11. 11 means highest score, 1 means lowest score for that particular statement. 11 means highest attitudinal value and 1 means lowest attitudinal value. 11 means highest weight and 1 means lowest weight. Okay, so you will ask them to mark the numbers or based on 11-point scale, you will ask them to mark the weight or mark the attitudinal value, right? Step number 4, on the basis of judges' ratings, calculate the median value of their ratings for each item. Now we have 10 items or 10 statements. So suppose you have 3 judges. These 3 judges will give the marking based on 11-point scale. Okay, so since we have 3 judges, we will calculate the median value for know the subject well. Suppose one is marking at 4, other is marking at 5, and one more is marking at 6. Then the median value will be 5. So 5 marks or 5 value or 5 weight will be given for this particular statement. So that way we will calculate the median value for each statement that is assigned by the experts in the field or judges to whom we send this particular assignment. Step number 5, if the judges rating of any item are scattered over the scale, this indicates that even among the experts, there is no agreement as to degree to which that statement reflects an attitude towards the issue in question. Discard such questions or discard such statements. What is meaning of step number 5? Now these are the judges who are experts in this particular field, okay, who have knowledge for this particular field. Now when they are assigning, since they are experts, they have exposed to similar kind of knowledge, their opinion related to those statements regarding that particular person, regarding that particular lecturer will almost be same. Suppose one is marking in the 4, other will mark in the 5, and one more will mark in the 6 zone. It shouldn't happen that one is marking in the 4 on 4 point, other is at 8, and someone is at 11. What does it reflect? That among the judges who are the expert in the field, they do not have unanimous opinion, same opinion. Opinion is different. Okay, means there should not be discrimination in the opinion. Means we will keep only non-discriminative items. In Thurstone scale, what are we doing? We are keeping only those items which are having non-discriminative opinions. Opinion should not differ. Opinion should be almost same for each item, each statement for the judges, because these are experts from that particular field. They are expert on that particular issue under study. So their opinion should almost be similar, into similar zone. It should not deviate too much. If there is deviation, if there is large discrimination, you have to delete those items. Now, if you see or if you remember Likert scale, what we used to do in Likert scale, non-discriminative item we are keeping and discriminative items we are deleting. Exactly reverse thing we used to do in Likert scale. Means discriminative items we used to keep. And when there was no discrimination, no differentiation, like I will go back to the Likert scale slide. Suppose this is the Likert scale scoring is hard to approach. So if everybody is marking in this uncertain zone, we will delete this item in case of Likert scale because it is not giving additional information. But in case of Thurstone scale, if we have this kind of marking, then only we will keep. Means this is non-discriminative item. There is no discrimination between the opinions of the people. So in case of Likert scale, when there is no discrimination in the opinion of the participants, we are deleting those items. But in case of Thurstone scales, since it is marked by the experts, what are we keeping? We are keeping only non-discriminative items, similar similar opinions we are keeping. keeping. Dissimilar opinions we are deleting. Dissimilar opinions we are not considering. Okay, so it is exactly reverse. So Thurstone scale and Likert scale, they are exactly reverse in case of markings of these particular statements. Okay, so that was the meaning of step number 5. So I will read it once again. If the judges ratings of any items are scattered over the scale, okay, scale means 1 to 11 scale, means one is marking at 2, another is marking at 5, and one more is marking at 11. That is a scattered over scale. This indicates that even among the experts, there is no agreement. Means for that particular statement, among the experts, they have different opinions. One is marking at 2, another is marking at 5, and one more is marking at 11. So they do not have same opinion. They do not have similar opinion. Okay. There is no agreement to the degree to which that statement reflects an attitude. So they do not have it is not agreement between the experts. There should ideally be agreement between the experts for that particular statement or that particular item. Okay, because it is expressed against one lecturer. What are they doing? They are listening their lectures, they are seeing the lectures, and after that they are marking. So when these experts are marking, they should have some agreement. They should have some similar opinions. Okay, if they have similar opinions, then only we can say that since they are experts, we will keep those items. We will keep those statements. Otherwise, if they do not have similar opinion, if they do not have similar agreement on the statement, we will delete such statements. Discard such statements where there is no agreement between the experts. So simply step number 5 says that if there is no agreement between the experts on particular statement, if they are marking in different zones, just delete those statements or items. Step number 6, from the remaining statements, now we will see the example. Suppose uh, is enthusiastic about teaching. Now, if the judges feel that it is, there is one more statement number 3, we will discuss that. Suppose statement number 3 or item number 3 shows concern for the students. Now, it does not have direct correlation with the teaching abilities. It does not have correlation with the knowledge of that particular this thing. It will not help you to assess the efficacy of that particular lecturer in delivering the research methodology lectures. So they might mark in different zones, like shows concern for the student. Suppose for shows concern for the student, the judge number 1 mark use mark as 2, other is giving 5, and some more person that is giving as 11. Then you will delete such item. You will delete such statements because there is no agreement. Because they are thinking this is not important item. This is not important statement as far as the issue under study is concerned, as far as research question is concerned, as far as research objectives are concerned. So it should go well with your research objective. It should go well with your research question. Okay. After the answers are taken, after the responses are taken, it should help you to find answer to your research question. It should help you to fulfill your research objective. If it is not fulfilling research objective, if it is not helping you to find answer to your research question, then this is not useful. Okay, so judges might think that shows concern for the students is not at all associated with the research under questions, or whatever research you are studying, or whatever is research hypothesis or research objectives, right? So such questions or statements should be removed from your list. So step number 6, what are you doing? From the remaining statements, select the items that best reflect attitude towards various aspects of the issues. Means such items like shows concern for the student, it is not at all required. Then is hard to approach. Now, there is no direct correlation, or there may not be direct association with this factor. This statement is difficult to get along with. So again, this will be a difficult aspect to judge for the judges. Like it is not directly associated with the teaching capabilities of that particular lecturer. So such items where there is discrimination of opinion, there is difference of opinion, all those items will be removed, and what will be kept? Only those items where there is equal opinion, similar opinions, that will be kept in your research question, or that will be kept as a part of your research questionnaire, right? In step number 7, finally, what will you do? You will construct a questionnaire or interview schedule comprising the selected items. Now, what did we do? We removed certain items like statement number 3, we removed shows concern for the student, make unreasonable demands, then we removed is hard to approach, we removed is liked by some students and not by others, we removed. So all these statements we removed, and finally we prepared our questionnaire. So this was about equal appearing interval or Thurstone scale. Okay. So to summarize, what is Thurstone scale? Basically, this scale is based on interval type of measurement scale. So what type of scale it uses? It uses intervals. It means there is equally appearing intervals between the statements or between the markings. There is equally appearing intervals. So it is under the category of interval scale. Now in Thurstone scale, what are you doing? You have weight for each statement. You have an attitudinal value for each statement. The weight or attitudinal value for each statement is different. So the statement number 1 will have highest weight or highest attitudinal value, and the statement number 10 will have lowest weight or lowest attitudinal value. This is contrast to your Likert scale. In Likert scale, all the statements or items, they have equal value, equal weight, or equal attitudinal value. But in case of Thurstone scale, the value, weight, or the marks for each statement is different. One will have highest value, one will be more important, one will have highest attitudinal score as compared to other. Okay, so that is the Thurstone scale. Now in Thurstone scale, what are we doing? We are collecting the questionnaire. Suppose we have 10 questions. Whatever is research under study, whatever is question under study. Like suppose we want to study in this example, the efficacy of lecturer in delivering research methodology lectures. So we have these 10 questions here. So in step number 1, what are we doing? We are collecting the questionnaires, right? In step number 2, we are sending these questionnaires to the judges. We are selecting a panel of judges. So all these questions are sent to panel of judges. These judges will mark on 11-point scale. So 1 will reflect the lowest mark, lowest weight, or lowest attitudinal value. 11 will reflect highest mark, highest weight, or highest attitudinal value. So these judges will mark the attitudinal value or weight for each and every statement. Now what the judges will do? The judges will calculate, suppose for statement number 1, one person has given 4, second has given 5, and third has given 6. So what do? You calculate the median value. So 5 is the median value. So you will take 5 as a value for statement number 1. So that way you will calculate the weight or value for each statement, and then you will arrange all the statement accordingly. So the statement which is more important, like suppose for research objective under study, that is the efficacy of lecturer in delivering research methodology lectures, judges might think that the statement number 7, that is can explain difficult concept in simple terms, is more important. So they might give highest marks, 9 marks, 10 marks, okay, or 8 marks. So that will be on the top priority because it has a more attitudinal value. It has more weight in terms of getting answer for your research objective or your research question. So that will come on the top, and the other statements will go below that particular statement. Now, which statements you will keep and which statement you will delete, because you have given it to the experts in the field. You have given it to group of judges. So they should have the agreement about that particular statement. They should have agreement means similar opinion about that particular statement. If they have similar opinion about that statement, you will keep that statement. If they do not have similar opinion or almost similar opinion, then you will delete that statement. I mean, discriminative items you will take out. Okay, and non-discriminative items you will keep as a research question or as a question for your passing it to them. No, after receiving the response. Suppose you have given this question to them. For question number 3 shows concern for the student. One is marking at 2, other is at 5, and third is at 11. Means there is discrimination. There is difference of opinion. One is marking at 2, other is at 5, and one more at 11. Means there is no agreement for that particular statement. There is no similar opinion for this particular statement. Oh, so such statements you have to remove from your research question. Even the statement is against the subject. Still, we can keep it because we are getting a good response from them. No. Basically, see, they will, since they are experts in the field, they will have some kind of agreement for the statement which is of more important, which is having more weight, which is having more attitudinal value. The statement which is not having an attitudinal value or the statement which are having less weight, then automatically those will be deleted. Yeah, like because there will be difference of opinion in terms of markings you see. Markings which is given by them. Suppose like one is giving 2, other is 5, and one more is 11. So there is no similar opinion. Difference of opinion can be seen. Means for this particular statement, that statement is related to that lecturer, efficacy of that lecturer in delivering the lectures. So there is no agreement for on that particular statement in context to that particular lecturer. Means even the experts, they do not have agreement. So such statements you have to remove. There should be agreement because it is marked by experts. It is not marked by participants. When participant marks, it is different thing. And when experts mark because they have expertise in academics. So they should have almost similar opinion. I'm not saying that everybody should give 5 marks, but at least they should have a similar opinion, like 3, 4, 5 or 4, 5, 6. That way the marks should be distributed in near zone. Okay. It should not be far away, like 2, 5, and 11. These are far away numbers in 11-point scale. Okay. So if it is distributed, if opinion is distributed, it indicates the opinion of the expert. Opinions of experts are distributed over a scale, over entire scale from 1 to 11. It is distributed entire over the scale. It should not be distributed. It should be concentrated in some particular area, either in the positive zone, negative zone, or neutral zone. When it is concentrated in particular area, then only you can keep those statements. If it is not concentrated, if it is diffuse, if it is diffusely spreading, then you have to remove those statements or questions. And then with the remaining statements or questions, you prepare your questionnaire and you can use that questionnaire for your study, further study.
Sir, I had
First,
a doubt. It's exactly actually extension to what the other person also asked, that if all of them are giving extremely low score to a particular item, even then we retain the item, is it?
yeah. It indicates a negative attitude. Basically,
Okay.
it is agreement and disagreement. So agreement for
Okay.
particular statement
So
and
they all
disagreement for
agree that it's not reflecting on the attitude as such. Even then we retain the item, we don't remove it.
yeah,
So
because it is
that is
either positive attitude or
consistently a
negative
low
attitude.
score across all the experts.
See, the item or statement which is having highest marks. Suppose there are statement which is having 10 marks. That statement will come on the top priority. That will be statement number
Okay.
1. The statement which got 2 marks, that will be the statement number 10. It will come
Okay.
in the end. So it is based on their weight or ranking, or you can say attitudinal value. Attitudinal value is
Okay.
reflected as their weight. Weight is reflected in terms of their marks given by the experts.
Okay. Okay. Okay, sir. Understood.
Should be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Means you can keep that question, and drastic changes it.
If the rating of judges is concentrated in particular zone,
Okay.
whether it is positive zone, neutral zone, or negative zone, it doesn't matter. But they should have similar opinion about that particular statement. Means if the opinion is different, if opinion is spreading all over the scale, we have 1 to 11-point scale.
Yeah.
So if the opinion is spread all over the scale, then you have to remove that remove that statement. If it is concentrated in particular zone, any zone you take, positive, negative, or neutral, if they have similar opinions, almost similar, they will may not have the same opinion, they may not give same marks, but almost similar marks, like 7, 8, 9 is almost similar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
If you take a median value, 8 is the median value of 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
So there is a hardly difference of plus 1 and minus 1. So that these kind of statements you can keep.
Okay.
Now, the next point is relationship between attitudinal and measurement scale. So if we see Likert scale, we already discussed, that was an ordinal scale. So it comes under the category of ranking scale. We used to have a ranking, rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. So it was based on the ranking kind of thing. Like we used to have attitude, strongly agree, neutral, disagree, and strongly disagree. So it has a particular ranking from most positive to most negative zone, or most negative to most positive zone. So it has a particular ranking, and that was a natural order or natural ranking. Thurstone scale, we can see the equal appearing intervals between the markings. Whatever markings are given, they are spaced at the equal intervals. Okay, so that is a Thurstone scale. And Gutman scale, that we have not discussed today because it is not part of our syllabus. So basically Gutman scale depends on a ratio scale.